Welcome back to Data Designed with Mockup. I am absolutely buzzing for today because we have hit episode 4, and if you've been with us so far, you know we like to get our hands dirty with the technicals. But today is January 30, 2026, and we are zooming out. We're looking at the one thing that actually gets you paid in this industry. We're talking about mastering the business analyst portfolio and, crucially, the art of dashboard wireframing.
It's great to be back. And you are so right to frame it that way. I mean, the industry has shifted so much. If you look at the landscape now in 2026, the barrier to entry isn't just, can you write code?
No, not anymore.
AI handles so much of the syntax for us now. The real barrier is problem solving.
Yeah.
And the portfolio, that's your proof. It's the only way to prove you can actually solve a business problem.
Exactly. I was digging into the source material we pulled for this deep dive, specifically one called Mastering the Business Analyst Portfolio for 2026. And the numbers are honestly staggering. We're looking at a forecasted growth for analyst roles of roughly 23% through 2031. That is massive.
It's huge.
Yeah.
That is significantly faster than the average for almost all other occupations.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
The text makes a specific distinction. It says companies aren't just looking for, data people.
Right. Not just spreadsheet jockeys.
Exactly. They are desperate for people who can generate decision-ready insights. That phrase feels loaded. Let's unpack that.
Oh, it's the most important phrase in the whole document. Think about the reality of a modern business. We are drowning in data. Every company has petabytes of logs, transaction histories, you name it. But that raw data is just noise.
Just chaos.
Decision ready means you can take that chaos, filter it, visualize it, and put something in front of a VP, something that lets them say yes or no to a $10 million decision in like 5 minutes. That is the gap the industry is trying to fill.
So if that's the goal, let's talk about the vehicle for getting there, the portfolio. I think for a long time, BAs, business analysts, they saw portfolios as something for like creative directors or UX designers. Why has that shifted? Why does a data analyst need a portfolio in 2026?
Because the resume is effectively dead. Or, at least it's insufficient. A resume tells me you claim, SQL. A resume tells me you claim, Tableau.
Right, it's just a list of claims.
A portfolio shows me how you think in SQL. The source material highlights this really well. It says a modern portfolio is basically a collection of case studies. It's a storytelling device. It shows your dashboarding skills, sure, but also process improvement, market analysis, all of it.
It's the difference between saying I'm funny and actually telling a joke that lands.
Precisely. You have to demonstrate the capability in a tangible way.
Okay, so the source outlines a few must-haves for these case studies. It mentions relevance and complexity, which seem obvious, but then it hits on impact. This seems to be where a lot of juniors stumble. They focus on the code, not the outcome.
That is the #1 mistake I see. A hiring manager doesn't care that you used a complex Python library if it didn't solve a real problem. The source is crystal clear on this. Employers want measurable outcomes. Did your analysis save the company 10% on costs? Did it find a new revenue stream? If you can quantify it, that's portfolio gold.
But let me play devil's advocate. What if you're an aspiring analyst? You're listening to this, and you don't have a job where you can save a company $1 million yet. How do you show impact?
That's a great question, and it's where real-world application comes in, even for mock projects. You don't need permission to analyze public data. You can take a public retail data set, find an inefficiency, and propose a solution. But, and this is crucial, you have to simulate the corporate environment. You can't just make a pretty chart and walk away.
You need the documentation.
You need the documentation. The source hits on this really hard. It basically says clear documentation is non-negotiable.
Why is that so important?
Because in a real job, you're never working in a vacuum. If you build a model and then you leave the team, can someone else pick it up? Documentation shows your thought process, the problem statement, the methodology, the tools. It proves you're a professional who builds sustainable assets, not just a hobbyist tinkering with data.
So the portfolio isn't just the final dashboard. It's the making of documentary.
Exactly. It's the making of. That context is what gets you hired.
Okay, so we've got the what and the why. Let's shift gears to the how. The tech stack for 2026 that's described in our sources. It's very specific. It creates this whole project life cycle. And it starts with something I think a lot of analysts skip to their own detriment: wireframing.
This is the biggest maturity shift we've seen. The source points specifically to dashboard visualization and wireframing as the blueprint phase.
And it highlights mockup.ai as the tool of choice here. Now explain this to me. Why can't I just open Power BI or Tableau and start dragging things around? Why add this extra step?
You can skip it, but you will waste so much time. Think about building a house. You don't just start pouring concrete, right? You design the blueprints first. Data products are the same. If you start building in the final BI tool, you get bogged down by technical hurdles immediately. You're fighting with data types, calculated fields.
And you lose sight of the story you're trying to tell.
That is the perfect way to put it. Wireframing separates the design thinking from the technical execution. Mockup lets you define your KPIs, your layout, your logic, before you touch the heavy machinery. You can sit down with a manager, show them the wireframe, and ask, is this what you need?
And if they say no, you just move a box. You haven't spent 10 hours writing complex SQL queries for it yet.
Right. It prevents rework, the feedback loop becomes incredibly fast, and the source mentions a specific feature in Mockup that really bridges this gap, the BI export feature.
I saw that. It lets you take the approved wireframe and export it directly to Power BI or Tableau. That seems like it solves the blank page problem when you finally open those heavy tools.
It does. It integrates the workflow. You're not redesigning from scratch. It makes the transition from design to development seamless. It reduces the friction.
So the full stack for 2026, it starts with Mockup for the blueprint. Then we move to development in Power BI or Tableau, which the source says now have heavy AI capabilities.
Yes, like natural language queries, your portfolio needs to show you can use those. But backing all that up, and this is where it gets technical, is the data management layer. SQL.
Is SQL still king in 2026?
SQL is timeless. It is the bedrock. You simply have to know how to extract and clean data. If your query is wrong, your dashboard is lying. It doesn't matter how pretty the wireframe was.
And for the heavy lifting, the source points to Python.
Right, Python for automation and advanced analysis. If you need to do predictive modeling or automate some messy data cleaning pipeline, Python is the tool.
And finally, there's one more layer the source adds that I think gets overlooked in boot camps: collaboration tools. Jira and Confluence.
This goes back to that not working in a vacuum point, showing Jira proves you can work in an agile team. It signals to a recruiter, I am ready to work in a corporate environment immediately.
Okay, so we have the structure, we have the tools. Now we need to talk about the visuals. The source lists 5 essential chart types. And I have to be honest, when I first saw bar chart, I thought, really? But it's about how you use it.
A wireframe is only as good as the charts inside it. You have to pick the right visual for the story. It's about cognitive load. You want the user to get it in milliseconds. If they have to stare and squint, you failed.
Let's run through the big 5 from the text. First up, bar charts.
The workhorse. They're for comparing categories. Simple. Comparing quarterly sales across 4 products. Use a bar chart. Our eyes are great at comparing lengths. Don't get fancy just to be fancy.
Next up, line charts.
Trends over time. If you're showing monthly revenue growth, you need to see the journey. Is it going up, down, flat? The line connects the dots for the brain. It creates a narrative.
Now for the controversial one, pie charts. The source lists them as essential, but Data Twitter has been trying to kill the pie chart for a decade.
They get a bad rap because people misuse them. You can't compare angles easily. But for showing proportions of a whole, a part-to-whole relationship, they're fine. Market share is the classic example. Just don't use them if you have 20 categories. It becomes unreadable.
Right, nobody wants a pie chart that looks like a shattered stained glass window. Fourth on the list,
Yeah.
scatter plots.
Now we're getting into real analysis. Scatter plots show relationships, correlations. The example in the source is perfect. Advertising spend versus sales revenue. You plot them on 2 axes. If the dots form a line going up, more spending means more sales. Helps you find patterns.
And the last one, often confused with bar charts, histograms.
They look similar, sure, vertical bars. But a histogram is for the distribution of continuous data.
Can you give us a real-world example of that difference?
Of course. Imagine you want to see the age breakdown of your customers. You aren't comparing Dave versus Steve. You're grouping them into buckets. 20, 30 years old, 30, 40, and so on. The histogram shows you the shape of that data. Is it skewed young? Is it a bell curve? It tells you the demographic reality.
So bringing it back to mockup, when you're wireframing and you drag that chart onto the canvas, you're making a deliberate choice. I'm using a histogram here because I need to show distribution, not comparison.
Exactly. That intentionality is what separates a junior analyst from a senior one.
Okay, let's pivot to the fun part, application. The source material broke down how these skills apply across different sectors. This feels crucial.
Context is everything. The use cases differ wildly by industry.
Let's start with finance. The source mentions risk management. What does a BA actually do there?
In banking, it's about mitigating exposure. A BA might build a dashboard that tracks loan defaults across different regions, looking for early warning signs. Or process improvement, streamlining how a loan gets approved to cut costs.
Healthcare was another big one.
I states there. You're analyzing patient data to improve outcomes. Or hospital operations reducing ER wait times. That's a pure data optimization problem.
Retail is probably the one we all interact with most.
Yeah, and for retail, it's about the customer and the inventory. You don't want to run out of the best seller, but you also don't want a warehouse full of stuff nobody wants. BAs optimize that supply chain.
And speaking of supply chains manufacturing,
That is pure efficiency. Quality control dashboards monitoring a production line in real time. If a machine starts producing faulty parts, the data should flag it immediately before thousands of units are wasted.
okay, so for the listener thinking, I need to build a portfolio project, where do I start? The source actually gave 10 specific ideas. I want to run through a few of these, but I want you to tell me the business value of each. Why would a hiring manager care?
Let's do it.
First one, customer satisfaction analysis.
Business value is retention. It costs 5 to 10 times more to get a new customer than to keep one. If your dashboard helps figure out why people are unhappy so the company can fix it, you are directly protecting revenue.
Sales performance dashboard. Seems like the bread and butter.
It is, but the value is an allocation. You monitor regions to find high and low performers. It lets management say, okay, the West Coast is struggling, let's send a trainer there. It enables real-time resource allocation.
Here's a tricky one, market trend analysis.
That's about forecasting. You're looking at external data, social media sentiment, economic indicators to predict demand for a product launch. The value is timing. You don't want to launch a luxury product in a recession.
Operational efficiency review.
The cost cutter. You're finding bottlenecks. Why does it take 4 days to process an invoice? The outcome is direct savings. Executives love this.
Customer segmentation.
Targeting. Stop sending the same email to everyone. Use data to group customers by behavior. The business value is higher conversion rates on marketing spend because you're actually being relevant.
Let's do one more. Churn prediction. The source flagged this as an advanced project.
This is a wow factor project. You're using historical data, probably with Python, to predict who is about to quit your service. You're moving the business from reactive to proactive. It's incredibly valuable.
And what's great about these is that you can simulate them. You don't need a corporate login to do a market trend analysis.
Not at all. Public data sets are everywhere. Kaggle, government data, financial reports. The data is out there. You just need to apply the structure.
So let's bring this all together. We've covered a lot of ground. It's 2026. The field is growing, but expectations are higher.
They really are. The days of just being the spreadsheet guy are over.
It seems like the winning formula, based on everything we've dissected, is really about respecting the workflow, the process.
It is. Do not just jump into code. That's the amateur move. Start with the wireframe. Use a tool like Mockup to get the logic and stakeholder buy-in locked down first. Then move into Power BI or Tableau and back it all up with solid SQL and Python.
And document everything.
Document it like your career depends on it, because honestly, it does.
The source left us with a final thought that I found really grounding. It said, the tools are powerful, but continuous education and real-world practice are the only ways to stay competitive.
That's the truth. Look, Mockup, Tableau, Python, they're incredible instruments, but you are the musician. The tools will change again in 2027, 2028, but the ability to take a vague problem, structure it, visualize it, and communicate a solution, that skill never goes obsolete. You have to keep practicing.
That is a great perspective. It's not about mastering the tool once. It's about mastering the practice of solving problems.
Exactly.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the Business Analyst portfolio for 2026. I hope you're feeling inspired or maybe just motivated enough to go open up a blank canvas and start wireframing that first big project.
There's no better time to start than right now.
Thank you for listening to Data Design with Mockup. Go build something that matters, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.